tell you that being a great service provider, thank you, I forgot to start the recording. So be a great service provider today requires more than being a great service provider. You also need to be a great business person. Because if you're not consistently bringing in new clients, there is no one to deliver those outstanding results for, right? And to get those clients, we need to sell. But sales is more than making an offer, okay? To be able to sell, we need people to sell to. And we need enough trust from those people so they say yes. So to take a person from cold to sold, we need three things. We need lead generation. That is what we call the top of the funnel. That is where people come into your business. And you can never, if you run out of people to sell to, if you run out of leads, you have no people to sell to, right? So we usually say that lead generation is the lifeblood of your business. Without leads, there is no people to sell to. The second part of that funnel is the lead nurturing. This is where you build like, know, and trust with your people. And trust today is your biggest currency when it comes to closing sales. So lead generation, lead nurturing, but also lead conversion. You need to invite people to invest in themselves and let you lead them. Those are the three things that is the foundation of running a business. And webinar excels because they accomplish these three things at one, right? So instead of juggling kind of multiple strategies, imagine having one rinse and repeat system that continuously generate leads, build trust, and convert sales, all while positioning you as the expert in your field, claiming that category of one. And having a signature webinar is not about designing and running 3, 5, 10, 15 different presentations. It's about having one presentation. A signature webinar or masterclass is more than just a one-time event. It's a repeatable, refined framework that also closes clients in bulk at the same time as it positions you as the go-to in your field. What we call that is being the category of one. And signature webinars, of course, also saves you a massive amount of time because it's going to replace like 80% of what you do in your business today. Not only that you don't need to reinvent the wheels every time, but also that you sell your offers in the capacity one to many instead of one to one. Because just think about if you want to close 10 clients in the capacity 1 to 1. Think about how much time you would need to spend on social media, spend in the direct messaging, getting people on a call, and then close them on a call to get those 10 clients. Because if you spend, let's say, 1 hour per client to close them, and you close at 20%, that means you actually spend 5 hours, you invest 5 hours of your time per client. That is actually 50 hours to close those 10 clients. And sometimes we don't think about that, right? Instead, you're going to spend 1 hour or 1.5 hours to sell your offer in the capacity one to many. It's the simplest way to scale a business. And there is no limit of how many people you can have in front of you. You can have 50 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, 5,000 people, right? 50,000 people. There is no limit of how many people you can have in front of you at the same time, right? And to stand out, if we look now into 2025 and how webinars is a very, I would say, the most effective way to grow your business, is that they stand out in a very powerful way to nurture real-time human connection, something that is more valuable today than ever. And the reason for that is that we live in a world where there is no entry level for anyone to go online, put up a bio, claim to be an expert, and do and sell exactly what you do. And now, thanks to AI, they can also sound like experts. I am not against AI because it's an amazing tool to get support. But what you also need to understand with this is how it's pushing our market in a specific direction. Because new studies show that 46% of customers distrust AI-driven marketing. Over 71% of all the people out there wondering whether they can trust what they see and what they hear. And nearly 83% of the people in these new studies believe that AI-generated content should be legally labeled as this is created by AI. This has pushed us and the entire market into a trust recession. And that means a longer buying cycle. From someone to go from cold to sold, it's way longer today than it was some years ago. And you can see entrepreneurs spending 30, 40, even 40 hours per week on tactics that moves them away from speaking to people. At the same time, you have a huge amount of people out there that is sick and tired of all this in-person kind of interaction, and it's just sitting there waiting for someone to speak to them. It has created a huge gap on the market of human connection. And you can close that gap. And every time we close a gap, we make money. And webinar cuts through that noise because it creates this live immersive experience where you can instantly build trust, engage your audience, and inspire them to take action. And webinars is way more than just sharing information. We're going to go through all of this today because they bridge that trust gap, all within one simple, repeatable system. And when I talk about webinars, this is what I usually hear because I run a lot of different kind of events, right? I have done events since 2017. And then I hear people say, yeah, but I can see you do 3-day workshop, 5-day challenges, and even 9-day live launches. Don't they work anymore? They do, absolutely. But only if you have the skill set to sustain energy and engagement over multiple days. And most entrepreneurs struggle with this, right? Because what happens is that day one, you're all fired up. You show up with the best energy you can get, and you are like, wow. And then day two, less people show up because it's naturally that in a multi-day event, you're going to have less people showing up each day. That is how they work. And then you are there day two, and you start focusing, oh, where are all the people? Where did they go? And you actually then go into worry about the people that is not there, and your energy drops. And when your energy drops, the audience energy drops, and less people show up. So by the time you open cart, all the excitement, all the momentum, it's all gone, right? And also when it comes to longer event, people are more time kind of consciousness today than they were before. It's easier for people to invest in 1 hour or even a 2-hour webinar instead of kind of commit to 1 hour multiple days in a row. And the same comes for your time. You don't feel that you have more time than your audience, right? And you need to understand when running multiple day event, it's not about the time only that you put in the event, the 5 days, because you have an entire runway before the event where you get people to sign up, engage, and so on. We're going to talk about that. That is way longer, right? So you need to be on energy multiple weeks. And most people don't have the skill set for that. And most people don't have the time for that. And the biggest return on the investment today, it's time. So by running a shorter event, a webinar or a masterclass, you will have no struggle to keep the energy high and create a real-time human connection. Because when people see you live, when people see you sharing your stories, your expertise, that builds trust faster. And I said in the beginning, we want to compress the time it takes from someone to go from cold to sold. So live webinars create this energy and momentum, delivering a transformational experience in that moment live. And another couple of reasons why webinars really stands out is, of course, the flexibility, because it doesn't matter. if you sell high ticket, low ticket, medium ticket, or even run webinars just to generate leads. Webinars adapt to that strategy. It also having a great evergreen potential, because a high converting webinar can become an automated system that can scale while at the same time free up even more of your time, right? And you can also take the same webinar and bring it to a live stage. We have one client, Christine, who took a webinar to a stage, the same presentation, and it became a speech where she should showcase her expertise building trust in front of a live audience. We have Josephine. You see Josephine here. She have taken her presentation both to live stages, but not only that, because she have been invited to run the same presentation in other coaches' masterminds. Just think about what that alone could do for your business, right? And they deliver result. So find just one last thing when it comes to webinars. I mean, entrepreneurs have scaled to 6, 7, 8, even 9 figures by mastering webinars alone, because there is no roof of what's possible with webinars. Let's say you have 50 people in your first webinar. So you have a webinar, you have 50 people registered, and your offer is $2,000. So we need to make this simple, okay? And your conversion rate is 10%. That is $10,000, right? In one webinar with one presentation. Just think about if you alone just double the audience to 100 people, same conversion rate. That is $20,000. What would that do for your business? What would that do for your life? Because the combination of this value-driven teaching, human connection, and a structured sales process, it's unbeatable. And then you might ask, how do you know this? Because I'm going to share with you, I didn't start out doing what I do today. I said that I have run events since 2017, but that was not in this niche, because I launched a fitness business. I was a truck driver. I was living in my truck from Sunday to Friday, unloading, loading, and sleeping at truck stops. And I was dreaming about another lifestyle because I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to lay on the beach. I wanted to have a lot of money coming into my bank account. And in the weekends, I was working as a personal trainer in a local gym. So it became a little bit of a natural thing to launch a fitness business online. The problem was I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know anything about dream client, niching down, organic marketing. I didn't know. I was totally a newbie. So I was sold a dream, a vision idea of amazing evergreen sales by people that didn't do evergreen sales to close those sales. I'm usually very honest with that. So what I did was that I built an entire app. I built a custom app. I run ads to quizzes, and depending on the answers, they got invited to different programs in the app. It was so complicated. I run all this without having any idea of dream client, niching down, marketing, organic marketing. I didn't know anything. And that way of running a business almost costed me more money than I was making. And this other lifestyle that I was dreaming about, I could not see it anywhere. And I came across a 5-day challenge. And I thought, wow, can it just be this simple? Can I just invite people and they're just going to buy like crazy? So I launched my own 5-day challenge and I failed. Because what I didn't understand was that there is an entire strategy behind running 5-day challenges. Plus, you need to hold in energy and engagement for multiple days in a row. And I didn't have that skill set. So what I did was that I hired myself a coach because I was done. And I hired a coach that was an expert in building webinars and 5-day challenges. And I relaunched. And that was a turning point, because what I realized was that all the tech that I had created, all this amazing app and whatever I had, was working as a barrier between me and my audience. So when I removed that and focused on the people that I was here put on earth to serve, that was the turning point. And that challenge and one webinar took me to $100,000 in sales in my fitness business while I was still working as a truck driver. I was living in the truck. I did my webinars and my launches from the truck cabin using my phone and a tripod because I didn't have the laptop in my truck. And that fitness business, I ran that to 2020. And in 2019, I started to pivoting into helping others that was in my position, right? They was stuck in tech, spending hours on social media, didn't know how to sell their offers in an authentic way and didn't make any money, right? And then in 2020, I closed my fitness business. And I have just done what I still do, helping people close clients with masterclasses and webinars, the exact same way that I close my clients. So what I do, what I'm going to here to teach you and share with you today is exactly the same thing that I use myself. It's exactly the same thing that I teach my clients. So what I sell is exactly what I do, okay? So in this training, we're going to cover 4 things. So make sure you do have pen and paper because I'm going to cover a lot. It's a lot of things that I want to go through. And the first thing that we're going to look into a little bit of the trends. I don't like the word trends, but there is some trends, a little bit of the do's and don'ts in 2025, what have changed when it comes to webinars. And then we're going to move into the webinar in itself, how to fill it, how to create the sales-driven content, and how to sell with it. So those are the main 3 things when it comes to webinars, okay? And I do know that we are going to cover a lot, but we're going to skip the fluff because if it's something I know is that you do not get clients with fluff. What I'm going to share with you and what we're going to focus on, it's what's actually going to get results. And this training is for service-based entrepreneurs, but it doesn't matter what offer you sell. As I told you, webinars adapt to any kind of offer that you sell. Low ticket, high ticket. It could be one-to-one coaching. It doesn't matter. So here's what I need from you. I need you to close your tabs, mute your phone, and give yourself the gift to focus. Because this training has the potential to be the turning point for your business, okay? And I don't want you to go back out there and then on Monday, you do the same things that didn't work, okay? So I want you we're going to drop some numbers in the chat or some clients in the chat because what I want you to think about is your next webinar. So we're going to look kind of a short-term goal here because we want client yesterday, but we can't do that. So we want clients now, right? So I want you to put in the chat and write down on a piece of paper the goal for your next webinar. Let's say you run a webinar in March. What is it now? Beginning of February. We can easily run a webinar 30 days from now in March. So either how many clients do you want to close in that webinar or how much money do you want to make in that webinar? And it doesn't matter if you write down clients or money, because the more clients' lives you change, the more money you make. The more money you make, the more clients' life you change, and the world become a better place. So it doesn't matter if it's clients or a number, but you need to write that number down and have a goal. So share in the comments. We have, Kenneth, 5 clients in your next webinars. So do we have any more goals for your next webinars? It can be a number and it can be money. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So make sure you either write it in the chat, and in April, Daniela gonna run her in April. So write down your goal for that webinar. How much do you want to make or how many clients? If you don't want to share, totally fine, but make sure you write it down. But when you put it out to the world, it's more likely going to happen. That is the thing, right? Then I want you to be willing to commit to that goal. And being willing to commit means that you're going to do the things that you said that you were going to do. long after the energy and the excitement you felt when you said it is all gone. And I'm going to repeat that because this is important. Being willing to commit means doing the things you said that you were going to do long after the energy and the excitement you felt when you said it is all gone. Okay? And then I'm going to ask you some real questions. And you don't need to write this in the chat, but write this in on a piece of paper. You need to ask yourself, when you look at that goal, are you willing to commit to learning a skill to hit that goal? These are yes or no questions. There is no maybe here. It's either yes, I'm willing to commit to learn a skill, or no, I'm not going to learn anything to hit that goal. It's a yes or no question. Are you willing to commit to be consistent to hit that goal? Question number 2. Are you willing to show up to hit that goal? Are you willing to commit to invest both time and finances to hit that goal? And are you willing to commit to trust the process to hit that goal? Are you willing to commit to running the reps, build mastery to hit that goal? And are you willing to commit to change to hit that goal? And there should be no no's here. These should be all yeses. Because why I'm asking you this is that this is what makes us great business people, right? We have a massive amount of yeses. This is what makes us great business people. It's when we understand that if nothing changes, nothing changes. And I'm asking you this to make sure that you are committed to reach that goal, because then I know you will not go out on Monday and do the same shit that didn't work before. You are going to take what you learn and bring it into action. So can we agree that everything that we learn, we are going to bring into action? Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. That is the tone that I want to set on this training. Because you can have all the information in the world, but if you do nothing with it, well, it's not going to help, is it? Right? Yes, so let's take action. So now we have kind of set the tone for this, because I have a lot to share. And the first thing that we're going to just look into is this here, kind of the little bit of the do's and the don'ts when it comes to running webinars. So what have changed? I said to you that I have done this in 2017. I have seen it all. Trends come and go. I have been in the time when you needed to have the perfect slide deck, this most fancy slide deck to get them to convert. I have seen it all, okay? But one thing that I am going to share with you that is going to feel like a real relief for you is that simplicity is back, okay? I want to say that gone are the days with these overproduced webinars, fancy tech, and complicated tools. The future, and write this down, the future belongs to those who embrace raw authenticity, genuine connection, and imperfect execution. The key here is to strip away all the unnecessary barriers and focus on what truly moves people to take action. The businesses that wins in 2025 are the businesses that understands and operates in their dream client's reality. Understanding their desires, struggles, what motivates them in real time, and meeting people where they are. You don't need a fancy slide deck to do that. You don't need a specific tech to do that, or a specific microphone or whatever. Remember that I run my entire business, my entire fitness business, with a phone, with a tripod. And sometimes I didn't even have a shower. I looked like crap in a truck stop, okay? So that is the first thing, simplicity is back. The second thing is something that we can call almost creating wonder. Let's call it creating wonders. I think that we all have been to overproduced webinars that have been either pitch fests, right? They pitch from the moment they start, or the host only talk about themselves. And what I call them is brag fests. So either pitch fests or brag fest, right? you need to understand that people don't just buy the solution anymore or the result. They invest in you and in your brand and in your energy. Money, it's like money comes from people. I feel sometimes, if we look at the market today, that people have forgotten that money actually comes from people, and people invest in people they trust, right? This is why you want to have your audience wonder. Your participants should leave thinking, wow, I can't believe that this was free, creating this kind of lasting impact and a sense of wonder. I can't believe that this was free. I wonder how it would be to work with them. I wonder what kind of transformation I would get if I had them carrying me throughout this journey. I wonder how it would be to be inside of their community with that energy, because what I experienced today was so transformational. That is what I call kind of creating the wonder. And that is not something that we have talked about when it comes to webinars, because webinars are built to sell. So sometimes we forget that you need to have your people leaving feeling, wow, even if it's a webinar, even if it's just a 30-minute webinar. The third thing that we can see that is extremely important today when it comes to the time thing here is quick wins. The fastest way to build trust is to help people experience a little bit of a quick win. Your webinar should leave attendees with clarity, confident, and immediately little takeaway, even before they have invested in your offer. And we call this actually inside our programs the big win instead of the quick win. But since we talk about the time, kind of time consciousness people actually have today, I want to call it a quick win. So make sure that you keep your webinar simple, actionable, and result driven. We're going to talk more about that. Less content, more impact. Okay? But above all, respect their time. The biggest return of investment for your audience today is not money, it's time. If they feel that their time was well spent here, they will trust you enough to invest more than just time. Okay? That was the third thing. The four biggest shift that is for webinars today is no more information-based webinars. You cannot sell a how-to course today with a how-to webinar. I'm going to talk more about this when we create the content. You have to understand that the accessibility of information is huge. It's right at people's fingertips. You can just type in the question, boom, you got the answer. People need more than information. Information doesn't create transformation. Write that down. Information doesn't create transformation. Your webinar must be built on decision-making content. And we're going to do that today. So you don't need to wonder, well, what is that? Okay? Those are the biggest shifts when it comes to webinars. So webinars in 2025, not only combating the trust recession that we are in, it creates a personal, authentic engagement, builds trust really, really fast because you're going to be there live with people operating in the reality. No more needs of fancy whatever that you think that you need in order to run webinars. You see, we use Zoom, right? Simplification is the future. Time is the biggest return of investment for your participants. So you want to look into giving them a quick win, and less information and more transformation when it comes to your webinars. Okay? And that moves us into the biggest thing in this training, and that is the webinar in itself. Okay? So first, I just want to cover a little bit what you do not need in order to run successful webinars today, because the idea that you must have thousands of followers, having a huge team, running all the things for you, having advanced tech, all this fancy whatever, spend hours and hours and hours on social media, or having a huge budget to run ads to make webinars a success is simply not true. The first thing that you actually need in order to run high converting webinars is clarity. Okay? Who is your webinar for? That is absolute key, because no lead generation or webinar with convert with the wrong people. Can we agree on that? That is something we can understand, right? You will have to understand that person and make sure that your offer is a perfect match. Because if you have the wrong people, there is no offer they are going to buy, right? You can have the best people, but the wrong offer. So there needs to be a match between the people and what you have to offer. You need to understand them enough. And that is done with clarity, right? And I said in the beginning that you have 3 steps for your audience to go from cold to sold. That is the absolute most important part in your business. And that can't run without having clarity with who you're going to put in top here. Okay? And before you have a complete flow with one simple system, you shouldn't start adding things. That is when you start spending hours and hours on tactics that just is everywhere, and you become exhausted and you feel you do everything, but nothing works. So less is more, okay? And the second thing that you need, so the first thing is clarity. The second thing that you need is a rinse and repeat system to fill the pipeline of the right people, nurture those people, and convert those people. It's the lead generation, lead nurture, and lead conversion. And we're going to take that, we can call it a lead funnel, into our webinar, because I said that a webinar is a one tool that do the 3 things for us at the same time. So the lead nurture is when we fill our webinar with the right people, and we call it the runway. This is where you get people to register. That is in top of your funnel. The presentation in itself is where you build the like, know, and trust. That is the nurturing part of the funnel. And then you open cart and you say to people, hey, come and join me inside of my course or program. That is the lead conversion, right? And of course, the entire sales process. So those are the 3 things that we're going to look into. And we're going to start with the first one, filling your webinar, what we call the runway, the webinar runway. And the runway is, of course, everything that we do before the webinar. It's inviting people, connect with people, nurture people, all those kind of things. It's more than just lead generation. But since lead generation is the absolute lifeblood of your business can't survive without leads. Your webinars will not survive without new people showing up, right? We are going to focus on that part. And the number one thing when it comes to filling your webinars is that, I already said this, you don't need hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. Most webinars out there actually run with less than 50 attendees. Actually, over 83% of all webinars out there run with fewer than 50 live attendees. We don't need to chase numbers here. The size of your audience doesn't matter as much as the depth of your message and how well it resonates with the right people. Because webinars, they thrive on clarity, understanding your dream client, understanding their struggles and the transformation they seek, and operate in that reality. So how do we get people to sign up? Because there are literally hundreds of strategies out there. Lead generation, the strategies, they are simple. Filling a webinar if we look at the strategies, are easy. And yet people struggle with filling their webinars, right? And to understand this, we need to kind of look a little bit back, because the power to connect with your target market is right in your pocket. Thanks to social media, you have instant access to literally millions of potential leads at 0 cost. But the reason why people struggle with filling their webinars is that they have the wrong kind of belief system, and I would say mindset, of what lead generation actually is. Because lead generation, we look at lead generation as a strategic thing. If I say lead generation, you think about strategies, right? But lead generation is actually a gift to your market, because your audience out there have real struggles, real needs, desires, dreams, wishes, whatever. And your job as a service provider is to create a bridge from where they are to where they desire to be, right? That is your job as a service provider, providing the solution that is the bridge over from where they are to where they desire to be. When you invite people to participate in your webinar, you are being of service because you are inviting them to access that bridge from where they are to where they aspire to be. And that is a gift to people. And most people don't see lead generation this way because they see it as strategies. I need 50 strategies to fill my webinar, right? But here is the thing. Another thing is that if you don't invite them, well, they're not going to show up. I'm just going to say it's that simple, right? It's like having a party, but you don't invite any guests. And then you can't sit there at your party all alone, feeling bummed that nobody showed up because you didn't invite anyone. People don't just show up. You need to invite them. So the energy of handing out those invitations must match the energy of your expectations of what that webinar is going to do for you. And here is the thing when it comes to this, is that we often resist handing out invitations, doing the lead generation, because we fear that we are going to be pushy, that we are going to be salesy, that we are afraid that people are going to get annoyed because we share about this webinar all the time, right? That they are going to feel like, oh my God, you only talk about your business all the time, right? But I'm going to say this, if you are not loud and proud about the way that you help people, you're kind of missing the entire point, because what we do as service provider is a gift to people. So you have to care so much about this, solving this problem on the market, that you do not stand in your own way, handing out those invitations. Actually do the lead generation, because that is making it all about you instead of them. So your willingness, and I will come back to what we talked about when we started this webinar, your willingness to commit, handing out those invitations, will dictate your results. And it's not only about strategies, because it's about fully understanding here, understanding and believing in the impact that your webinar is going to do, and extending those invitations with conviction. And when you do that, and understand with clarity that who you're going to invite, of course, we talked about the clarity. But when you then hand out those invitations with conviction, because you believe so strongly that your webinar is going to help these people, I can promise you, you are going to attract the right kind of people. So I hope this makes you feel different when it comes to doing lead generation. And then you say, well, strategies. Well, of course, you need strategies. You need to have the runway, what we call the runway, the strategies all planned out. You want to have a kind of a strong runway to get people to sign up, engage, and show up. But the strategies are simple. They are accessible. We teach 50 ways to fill your webinars inside of our webinar revolution. 50 ways, right? But I'm here to say that no strategy in the world is going to help if your belief system don't match the millions of dollars that you want to make. So you need to ask yourself, you put the goal in the chat or you wrote it on a piece of paper for your next webinar. And you want to look at that and ask yourself, are you willing to commit to not stand in your own way and handing out invitations to match that goal, to match that expectations? And then are you willing to commit to learn and master the strategies to build the runway to get people signed up, engaged, and show up to get to that goal? And only you can answer those questions, right? But I said in the beginning, it's a lifeblood. because without leads, your business will not survive. And if you don't have leads, because you don't have anyone to sell to. So you need to understand, to keep growing, you must ensure a continuous kind of flow of new people discovering you, because otherwise you're going to end kind of eventually run out of people to invite. So you don't have anyone to invite to your party. And then it's hard to get people to show up at your party, right? Because it's not just about filling your webinar once. It's about building momentum so that each time you run your webinar attracts new engaged people. That means you want to make sure that you're consistent, expanding your reach and become visible for new people. Because what happens here is that most entrepreneurs assume that they have a sales problem when in reality they have a visibility problem. So what happens is that they have kind of an initial success. You tap into your existing network, you run a couple of webinars and you see great results. And then stagnation happens. Because without a strategy for continuous grow your visibility, your pool of people to invite dries up and there will be no leads. And then you make the wrong conclusion. So you assume webinars doesn't work. How many have heard webinars doesn't work, right? When in reality, the issue is and lays in the visibility and the lead generation. And visibility is not about being on social media 24/7, posting in every Facebook group you can possibly get your hands on. It's about positioning yourself. It's about claiming your space. It's about spending time on things that actually moves the needle and connecting with new people. And there is a lot of way to increase visibility, both growing your own audience and then being seen for other people's audiences. And what we do with our clients is two things. So the first thing that we do is that we have something we call visibility boost, where we go out and make sure that we engage and we connect and become more visible for people before we do the lead generation. So we actually start with visibility, something we call visibility boost. So by the time we hand out invitations, we have more eyes on our content. One of our clients, she had minimal online presence and she used our visibility boost for 1 week. So we're not talking about month after month after month here when you start out doing your first webinar. She did 1 week. And by the time she started inviting people, she got on day 1, 77 signups. On day 2, when she had done 2 days of lead generation for her webinar, she had already 197 signups. And Josephine here, that are here with us today, she generated 350 organic leads by continuously applying these strategies. And it's not about spending hours. It's about spending time on things that actually moves the needle. What we also do, that everyone that is here is going to get an opportunity to be a part of this, is that we do something we call the client spotlight. And that is when we show our clients' webinars and masterclasses to our audience, not only sending emails to our list of almost 9,000 people, but our audience reach on social media is almost 300,000 people. Okay, so that kind of goes out to get their webinars out to the masses. And then you say, well, are those all your clients, dream clients? Absolutely not. This is about getting it out to the masses because you never know who knows who. And it's also going to create a lot of credibility and a lot of engagement for your webinars. Okay, so we have now kind of, number one, shifted our mindset around what lead generation actually is. We have decided and committed that we are not going to stand in our own way here, and we're actually going to hand those invitations that matches the expectations of what our webinar is going to do for us, right? We also talked about the importance of creating visibility. So we never run out of people to invite. And that also is going to help us building this category of one brand, being that that category of one. So we start attracting the right kind of people and build trust even before our webinars goes live. Okay. But we also want to turn those leads and change those leads' lives inside our offers. So we now need to take those leads and start building like, know, and trust with those people. And this is what we call the lead nurturing. It's the middle part of the funnel. This is your webinar presentation, okay? But to go from cold to sold today is a long time compared to what it is before, okay? And your goal with your presentation is to shorten that, build trust way faster. And you need to understand that people invest in people they trust. They don't just buy anything these days. They invest in you. They invest in your brand. They invest in your energy. So this is where the webinar in itself, the presentation in itself, this is where the magic is going to happen. But it's important to know that this is not information alone. Okay? Your webinar presentation, it's more than just a presentation. It's kind of the heart of your funnel because it's a powerful tool that nurtures your audience, builds trust, and transform new leads into paying clients. While generating new leads in top of your funnel is essential, okay? It's the middle part, the webinar content that guides your audience towards making a decision. And without a structured strategy here, even the best leads won't convert. And a well-crafted webinar does more than just teach. It provides clarity, direction, and momentum. We usually say what goes into motion stays in motion, right? A well-crafted webinar helps your audience to see the transformation they can achieve by working with you, making your offer kind of the natural next step in the journey. Because today, information is everywhere. People have access to endless how-to content, and yet they struggle to achieve the result that they want. So why is that? Because knowledge alone doesn't create transformation. Clarity and decision-making do. So your webinar must do more than just teach. It needs to move your audience towards making a decision with decision-making content. So a high converting webinar is about guiding your audience on a kind of a transformational journey. Your goal is to help them recognize what they did in the past didn't work and what they need to do instead. And to achieve this, you want to use what we call conversion story. This is where you share your story to connect with those people. Having this kind of relatable examples and paint the picture for them. What is possible using storytelling? Painting the picture of what success could actually look like. Your audience needs to see that action is required for change and that your solution is the absolute clearest, most effective path forward towards the life or the relationship or the business they want, depending on what you offer, right? So instead of overwhelming people with too much how-to content, too much information, focus on showing them what is possible and why your approach is the key to achieve the goal that they want. Kind of offer actionable insights, mindset shifts, and highlight the gap between where they are and where they want to go, and demonstrate how your offer is kind of closing that gap. And your audience enters your webinar with mindset blocks, limiting beliefs, struggles, fears, frustrations, but they also enter your webinar with hope, with desires, with the dreams. But there is a gap there between those two, right? And you want to lead your audience through that stage by creating and changing their beliefs. So even if they join thinking, I can't do this, at the end of the webinar, you want them to say, I can do this, right? I can do this. I can achieve this. I can see myself doing this. This is the missing piece. So that is the transformational, and that is not created with dumping information on people. And by the end of your webinar, you want them to feel ready to take action, making your offer the logical next step in your journey. And this is where live webinars is so superior, because it's not only about the content, right? It's about you. I said that people invest in you, in your brand, in your energy. Your energy, your authenticity, and your passion is what truly is going to engage your audience to take action. And when you show up as the leader, fully present, fully focused on the people that is right in front of you, your energy is going to reflect back. And when you in real time guide them with clarity and conviction, they will trust you to lead them forward. And most webinar hosts, when I talk about creating content and teaching, they're very, very scared that they're going to give away too much. They fear that, yeah, but if I give away too much, people are not going to buy. But here is the truth. The more value you provide, the more your audience is going to trust you. And when I say value, I'm not talking about dumping information. I talk about value. Because think about it, when someone goes above and beyond to help you, you will trust them more to invest in them, right? And I can't think of anyone that said, okay, I didn't learn anything. I can't see how this can work for me. I don't understand why this is important. I don't know if I can do this, right? I just don't get it. But yes, take my money. No one said that. And the same kind of principles applies here. The key here is to deliver value without overwhelming, right? So instead of bombarding them with endless information, focus on clarity, this less more approach, right? Because that is going to leave your audience wanting more. And I know this is a very, very fine line to walk on, sharing enough information for people to be able to make a decision on, and too much information so you overwhelm and lose them. And that is okay. But this is why it's so important to commit to running the reps, to master the process, and refining your webinar every time. Because the secret to becoming confident and an effective presenter and move people, showing up with energy, showing up as the leader, right, is in the repetition. And every great athlete out there became the best by running the reps. They didn't wake up one day and was the fastest in the world. It took them hours and hours and hours to become the best. Okay? Building a signature webinar that you can run repeatedly, not only going to save your time because you don't need to reinvent the wheel, but it also accelerates your growth as a leader and as a speaker. Because each rep, you are going to refine your process, sharpen your delivery, have higher energy, and you're going to get a better result. So it's okay. It doesn't happen the first time. It's totally fine. And it's like this. Every time you start over, every time you kind of, oh, I need to do a new topic on my webinar. I need to do this thing. I need to do this. Every time you start over, you go a little bit backwards before you go forward, which means if you start over multiple times, you're going to stand still. There will be no growth. And when you stop chasing new ideas and new topics and new whatever, and focus on mastering one proven system, you will see consistent growth in your confidence, in your authority, and in your clients' conversions. Okay, you want to learn how to identify your entire webinar. After your webinar, you want to learn how to identify the small segments that you can improve and run it again. That is what the kind of repetition lies. And this is something we also do with our clients. And when we do it with our clients, it's called a debrief. I'm not going to go deep into what it is that we actually do inside of this, but it is where you kind of look at the entire thing from start to finish, everything from numbers to energy, okay? And you identify what segments to improve. So the next time you run it, it's going to be a little bit better and better and better, right? And this leads us in to the last part of the funnel. So we now have talked about the importance of lead generation, not run out of people to sell to hand out those invitations, and to make sure that we don't just have information in our webinars, that we actually drive the sales with decision-making content, paint the picture, lead people from where they are to where they aspire to be. They paint the picture what is actually possible if they come and join you, and put your offer as the natural bridge between where they are to where they want to go. But we also need to sell, the last part of the funnel, right? And this is where you invite people to get the bigger transformation, because we all know that the big transformation is going to happen inside your paid programs, right? But this is also the part where most people feel most kind of resistant to the sales, right? But I want you to leave this training feeling that you can sell with confidence, and you can make that close into a very seamless moment in your webinar. And to mastering sales, we need to look into a couple of things. The first thing, I want you to write this down. That is very important to understand when you run webinars or masterclasses. Speaking is selling, okay? Because you are actually selling from the moment you start speaking. Your audience's journey to the result that they want doesn't begin when you say, hey, the doors are open, like at the end of your webinar. It starts the moment you start speaking, in the beginning of your webinar, because your words, your story, your energy, your content, the way you show up, as the leader, as the expert that leads people closer to a decision, that is the sale. That is where people move into saying, hey, I want to work with you. Hey, I need what you have to offer. That is not when you open cart. It's actually in the beginning of the webinar. That is when the sales actually happen. So speaking is selling. As soon as you start speaking, you actually start selling. You just don't know it, right? The second shift that we need to do is to redefining a little bit what sales is. Because when you see sales as something that is slimy, sleazy, pushy, even aggressive, that is the energy you will project out. And what happens then is what I call the energy shift. So you go from teaching, inspiring your audience, having amazing energy, into an awkward shift. And your energy drops. And the audience is going to react on that, so their energy drops. And you lean back, and they lean back, okay? That is what happens. So we want to refine or redefine what sales actually is to something that is different. Because when you approach sales as a way to provide solutions and serve your audience on the highest level, you are going to project that and kind of naturally inspire trust and confidence in your audience. And that is how you seamlessly, with high energy, can transition from content to closing. It's not so much what you actually do here as it is who you are when you do it. And to be able to sell with high energy, keep up that with confidence, you have to redefine what sales actually means. Because sales is not about being pushy, slimy, pitchy, salesy, aggressive. I don't know all the words that can pop up here. It's about inviting and presenting your audience with the opportunity to solve their problems and get the result that they want. And how you define sales will determine the energy you project out when you do it. So I have 4 things that I want you to write down when it comes to redefining what sales actually is. The number 1 thing is selling is serving. Write that down. Selling is serving. Because when you when you do sales and invite people to come inside your offer and get the real transformation, you are serving your audience on the highest level, the absolute highest level. So selling is serving. Second, selling is solution. You are bringing people to a place and a space of solutions, having their problems fixed, struggles removed, frustration, fears, whatever it is, right? You have the solution inside your program. So when you invite people to access that, that is also being of service, right? The third thing, sales is beautiful. Because sales is the biggest compliment you can ever get. When someone say, hey, I'm going to invest in myself and I'm going to let you lead me. What is a bigger compliment than that? Nothing. It's the most beautiful thing that is going to happen in your business is when someone say yes to themselves and trust you to lead them towards where they want to go, because they feel your energy and they believe in your solution. It's beautiful, right? And the last thing, sales is energy. Confidence steams from understanding the value that you bring. When you fully believe in the transformation your offer provides, your energy will inspire people to take action. Because the transitioning here, when you go from the content in your webinar into the sales, is not only about the words that you say, it's also about the energy that you bring here. And this is the reason why most of people's longer event don't convert. Because you lose so much energy and momentum over the multiple days. So when you lose energy, your audience stops showing up. And by the time you open cart, all the magic, all the momentum, all the energy is totally gone. And you must believe in your solution more than anyone else will ever do. Because if your energy drops, so does your audience confidence. So what you want to practice is hold steady, maintain excitement, and lead with conviction into your invitations. And an easy way to remove the absolute biggest, I don't know what we're going to call it, hurdle or friction here when we do this transitioning is stop seeing what you do at the end of your webinar as a pitch. I hate the word pitch. It's not a pitch. It's an invitation, right? You can just feel the difference in these words. Oh, here comes the pitch. Oh, here comes the invitation. Totally different energy here, right? You're inviting people to a transformation. You're inviting people to access your solutions. So when you kind of wrap up your presentation, you want to use confident, inviting language. Like, I hope you have loved what I have shared today. And for those who are ready to XYZ, I have an invitation for you. It's not harder than that, right? When you come from a place of and show up from a place and space of service, guiding your audience towards transformation, that kind of process feels very aligned and effortlessly. And then, of course, you want to present your offer. We call it the offer stack. You know, the things that is included, how your offer works, the result that they are going to get, the bonuses, all those kind of more tactical things. You want to present that with the same energy. That's more the strategic part of doing sales inside of a webinar. And that is, of course, of huge importance. So the audience with clarity understand how your offer is the next logical step that is going to provide them with what they want. But you need to remember, when it comes to selling confidently and maintaining momentum throughout your webinar, it might not happen the first time, okay? It might not be perfect the first time, and that is totally fine. This is why, again, running the reps is so important. The more you run your webinar, the more natural and confident your delivery is going to be. Your energy in each these cycles that you run is going to be stronger. Your transitionings are going to be smoother. Your ability to sell effortlessly will improve for every webinar. So instead of kind of questioning yourself and or your ability to sell after just one attempt, focus on perfecting one system, the webinar, and run the reps of that. Because with each rep, your ability to confidently present your offer, holding energy, close more clients will not only improve, because it's going to turn your webinar into a powerful, repeatable sales system. At the same time, it's going to nurture your audience, building trust, and creating this category of one brand. So I hope you feel different when it comes to doing sales, because sales is usually where a lot of people feel a lot of friction. There is where a lot of people's webinar just go from amazing to fall flat, right? And it's not about so much about what you actually do here, like the perfect script or something when it comes to this. This is about holding energy and believing in your solution. And I know that it might feel a little bit like, oof, I don't know if I can do this, you know? It feels a little bit, oof, they're gonna push me a lot out of my comfort zone. But you know what? There is no growth in the comfort zone. And your purpose that you were put here to on earth, all the people that you are gonna help, it needs to be bigger than those fears. You have to be willing, again, you have to be willing to commit, to step outside of your comfort zone and look at the people that is right in front of you, the people that you were put here to earth to help inside of your offer, and say to them, I'm going to do this for you. Right? And as you see, when you kind of run webinars, run successful webinars, it's about mastering, of course, multiple elements. From maintaining high energy and confident delivery to creating the webinar framework, day, time, all those kind of things, into creating the presentation in itself, and the execution of the presentation in itself. It's about getting people to sign up. It's about having this cycle that runs so we can run the reps of it. But that, together with what we have talked about, that is where the magic is going to start happening. And when we talk about running successful webinars, if we look at the steps to create an entire successful cycle, we call that the webinar revolution success path. And it all starts with the clarity, right? Being totally clear with who you are for, who is the perfect participant for your webinar, what are you going to sell, what is the investment of that. So all that matches. That is kind of the front end. That is the doors inside to your business, right? And without clarity there, a lot of the things that is going to happen after that is going to fall flat. So it starts with clarity, okay? And the second thing is, of course, the presentation framework. Having the right topic, the title, the day you're going to run it, where are you going to host it, the time, the landing page, all those more strategic part, we call that the framework, okay? The third thing that you need is visibility, okay? Most of you might have online presence or not an online presence, or you might have an audience but see very little engagement from it. So you want to try to engage them, boost that visibility, and that of course never stops. But in our successful framework, we do that as a step 3, to go out and create more visibility. Then it's lead generation, getting people to sign up. If we look at it really simple, it's to get the right people to sign up. That is the step number 4. The step number 5 is the presentation in itself. This is where we talked about not dumping information on our audience, but creating this decision-making content. So you drive sales inside and decision-making inside of your webinar with clarity and conviction. And that moves into the next step, right? Step number 6, which is you open cart and you start your sales process. Because sales doesn't stop when you turn off the webinar. You have a sales process that runs after the webinar as well, right? Because not everyone can show up live. There's going to be people that is going to watch a replay. So you also have a sales sequence. That is the 6th step inside of our framework. The 7th step is what we call the debrief. And this is something I talked a lot. And it's one part that is extremely important to run successful webinars. If you don't know, if you can't identify what worked and what didn't work, what you have to pivot, you will run the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. And we know that is not going to happen, right? And we call it a debrief. It's kind of where you look at all the entire thing and say, okay, what can I change for the next cycle to convert higher? And the last thing is that between webinars, you are not going to go off social media, lay in your bed, do nothing. You are going to grow that audience. Audience expansion is the last step. These are 8 steps to create an entire webinar cycle. Okay? Together with mindset, together with energy, running the reps is going to make this a magic. This is what's going to make a webinar convert again and again. But here is what I have noticed when it comes to this. When I talk about creating webinar, it can feel a little bit overwhelming, like, ooh, this sounds like a lot, okay? And it might also be what I have seen is that some people nail the energy, but struggle with a follow-up system. Or maybe you got great content, but you can't seem to get enough people to show up. Or you run the entire thing, right? And you feel like, whoa, no sales, right? And that is exactly where a lot of people get stuck, because it's not that, and if you feel this is you, it's not that you don't have value to share. It's that you're missing these critical pieces that makes the difference between a webinar that just runs and a webinar that actually converts. Because when you have the right pieces in place, running a successful webinar shouldn't be a guessing game, right? It should be a repeatable, scalable strategy that brings in leads and brings in clients and revenue again and again and again. So when we teach you, and I think you can feel this when I talk about webinars, when we teach you how to run successful webinars, we don't just teach you how to run successful webinars, the strategies, right? We equip you with every essential detail, every essential piece. I mean, we have helped clients like Claire, for an example. She landed 15 high-ticket clients from her first masterclass. Josephine here transformed her struggling workshop into a 92 sales success story. We have Namita, who kind of fine-tuned her process and closed $17,000. We have Lisa, for an example, with her 45-minute webinar, secured $5,000 with a low-ticket offer. These are not isolated successes. They are the direct result of having a proven system that works. But what makes this transformation possible isn't just the strategies. It's like everything from knowing how to kind of increase visibility, building out the runway, nailing the messaging, all those kind of strategies. It's not only the tools, right? What truly moves the needle here is number one, clarity, knowing what to do and when to do it, because otherwise the process is going to feel very overwhelming. Okay. It also about running the reps, doing all the trial and error. And I have done all the trial and error. I said to you that I have done this since 2017. I have done it all. I'm just going to say, I have done it all. I have run all the events that you can possibly think about, paid events, summits, webinars, masterclasses, challenges. I have done it all. Okay. So to avoid all those mistakes, you want to have someone with you that have done all the mistakes, that have done all the trial and error, because it's going to fast track your way to success. So we help entrepreneurs like you who are ready to get clients faster, get clients easier, without the need of having a huge audience, using complicated tech, running expensive ads, or having a huge team, or spend hours and hours on social media and see very little return of it. We teach just a proven system. And I shared with you the kind of success path, this 8 steps. That means that in just 30 days, you can have a high converting webinar up and running, bringing in leads, bringing in clients, bringing in sales that can then run on repeat. So instead of feeling stuck in endless social media posting, seeing nothing in return, webinars provide a very repeatable system that also positions you as an authority, attracts your ideal audience, and convert them with ease, because it's a one in all system. No more kind of inconsistent income, not knowing where your next client is going to come from. No more guessing where your next client is going to come from. It's just a proven strategy that actually works. But what I know is the fear. There is a couple of fears around this. Not nailing the content, the presentation, right? Am I giving away too much? Is this clear? Does my offer stack resonate? Do I have enough stories? All that kind of things feels a little bit uncertain, and there's a lot of fears around that. The second thing is struggling getting your webinar in front of a lot of people. Okay. It can also be on the identification of the segments to improve. That can also feel a little bit fear behind. And also designing the script, because I am not, for me, for an example, I am not a writer. I am not a writer, which means when I started doing this, I struggled with crafting the script in itself. So that is why we have designed 5 success accelerators that everyone here who decides to join us is going to get. And the first one is a one-to-one session. I call it the webinar breakdown session, because it's a one-to-one session where we personally go into your webinar in a one-to-one and look into the entire webinar before you run it, to make sure or ensure that every part of your webinar is set up to convert, to kind of avoid as much trial and error as we possibly can. That is the number one. The number two, I already talked about. It's the client spotlight, where we send dedicated email to our list presenting your webinars, but also in front of our audience. We have an audience reach of about 300,000 people. Okay. That is not about immediately getting signups. It's about positioning yourself as an authority and expanding your reach in the long term. Okay. Because this is not a thing that you're going to do once. You want to do this over and over again. The third thing is that I have created a training that is helping you kind of writing the script, set up the script using AI. So you don't need to feel like I do. I'm not a writer. I'm not sure that I can structure this, because it's going to help you structure the entire script. The fourth thing is lifetime access. Whether you want to revisit, rebuild another webinar, or you feel like you want to scale, everything is there for you. The support and all the trainings, because it doesn't end with one webinar. You're not going to do a webinar and then bye-bye. Okay, done. No, we're going to run this. We're going to run the reps of this, right? So that is why it's lifetime access. But I have something special, and I know I emailed about this for you that are here live. Okay. This bonus is for action takers, because action takers always get the best result because they know they need to take action. So before we end this session, we're going to do a Q&A. So let's say 15 minutes, depending on how many questions we have. Before we end this session, for the ones that joined, I have talked about the importance of the debrief, understanding what segments to improve for the next cycle. So what everyone that joins today, before we end this session, is going to get is a private debrief session with either me or Josephine. Okay? It's a one-to-one session. If you're serious about mastering high converting webinar, that bonus alone will set you up for long-term success, because that is where a lot of the secrets are hiding, right? That bonus is for action takers. So you need to join before we end this session. These bonuses that I have added, these 5 bonuses, they are not add-ons, okay? They are specifically designed to solve the biggest challenges entrepreneurs face with webinars. Nailing the content and presentation structure, getting in front of enough people, actually writing the script, even if you're not a good writer, and identifying the pieces you need to improve before the next rep. Okay? So we are going to share the link in the comment section for you who are ready to do this. Go and claim that post-webinar debrief session, because it's only here for the live people. And then you come back here and then you say, I am in, so I can celebrate that you committed to your transformation. And the investment to join a Webinar Revolution, it's only $995 on a one-time investment. There is also a $395 split investment over 3 months. But of course, if you join on the one-time investment, you save about 15%. So 995 on a one-time investment, or 395 on a 3-time investment is 3 months. Okay. Webinar Revolution it's just not another program. It's a transformation for your business. We have Samantha, for an example, who joined after she got it right, she made 5,000 in her first webinar. But that wasn't the real win, because the real win was that she did an upsell and sold the first high ticket program. We have Fan, for an example, that was stuck at 5K doing 5-day challenges, totally exhausted. And we fine-tuned that into a masterclass instead, and she could break through those 5,000, feeling energetic, saving time. We have Sam, for an example, who did major shift in both her mindset and business, with a more of a no fluff approach in her webinars and in her trainings. We have Josephine here, who closed 15 clients in her first masterclass. It's a little more than a year from now. She did her new offer in a new masterclass, closed 15 clients. Or all the other clients, like we had Christine, who took her webinar into an in-person stage, delivering a speak that built her trust, credibility, and authority. The examples is endless because it works. And when you join Webinar Revolution, it's not only a course. You are stepping into a fully immersive experience that is designed to fast-track your success. Every piece of this program is built to support you on that journey, helping you attract more clients now and create this repeatable system that works effortlessly for the long time, and also free up your time. Because we can't run a business working 80 hours per week. We will be exhausted. We want to have a one-in-all system to sell our offers to many people at the same time, to create the transformation on the world. But we can't stop at training, right? It doesn't stop with modules. So what we do is, of course, weekly Q&A and live coaching. And this is where we answer your questions. We help you overcome challenges that might stand in your own way. And something that I talked about is to kind of be a little bit ahead of the curve. We do the same thing that we teach, right? So what we do is that we run live workshop, client-only workshops. And the next topic that we're going to run, that is in March, is actually the tech part of designing landing page, thank you page, add-on calendar function, and the registration email. This is a step-by-step. I'm going to host a step-by-step training that is on our platform, but you can pivot that into any platform. And that training is going to be held next month. Okay. And to make the execution simpler, you get proven templates, resources done for your framework. We have it for presentation, emails, follow-ups. We even have a slide deck if you want to use slides. And these tools are designed to save your time, but also be sure that you actually can take that time and spend on what actually moves the needle here, connecting with your audience and close sales. Okay. And then, of course, we have a dynamic community, a supportive community of like-minded people. They're all there because they want to achieve extraordinary results. And you are very lucky when it comes to that, because we are starting a new cohort. It's a new year, right? So the amount of support inside of that community is huge. It's huge. So you're going to join a new cohort. So as you see, the webinar revolution is not just about running a webinar. It's to build an entire client acquisition system that works for you and not the other way around. Okay. And before we go into the Q&A session, make sure that you click on the link, grab your debrief bonus. It's valued a lot, and it's just for the people that are here live. So grab that, come back and say, I'm in, because I'm going to stay here to make sure you get your questions answered. We're going to first start with any questions that is about the program. So for those who have a question before they go and grab their bonus, get their questions answered, and then we can move into all the other questions. So maybe Josephine, if you have.
Yeah, we have a first question here about the program from Charlotta, and it's whether, for how long the program is. Is it a year, 3 months? How long is the program?
This is, you have access a lifetime, but if you follow and you really want to get your webinar out there, you can have your first webinar up and running in 30 days, okay? But you might be that I want to run it in April, okay? But the access to the program and support, it's a lifetime. So you can come back, revisit, you can, maybe you want to build a second webinar, or you want to scale. The support and the trainings are there for you. And they're also updated because I update them, because we try new things. Some things doesn't work, some things works, and the things that works, we take into our clients.
We actually had a question that is a little bit related to the program and that I would want to have, because we have clients inside of the program that are bilingual or are doing, for example, Swedish and English. And we had one question asking, I don't know whether I should do my webinar in Swedish or English. So can you please cover how we cover that in the program?
Yeah, so if we look at me, I started my business in Swedish, and then I moved into English because I wanted to reach a bigger audience. The support and the trainings works both ways. If you want to do it in Swedish, or if you want to do it in English or German, we have Josephine here, she speaks German as well, right? So we can give you a little bit of support on that as well. But if we look at the reach, of course, the Swedish audience is this, international audience is here, right? But it's also important to understand that you need to feel confident. And when I started out, I didn't felt confidence in doing my business in international, for an international audience. So I started in Swedish. And then when I felt more confident, I moved into English. So one doesn't exclude the others. But this I'm going to say, running a business in 2 languages all the time is going to be a lot of work, because you need to do everything double, right? So, but I would start with what I felt more confident in, because that is going to close way more sales than doing something that is totally off in the beginning. And then you can move into going into an international audience.
Yes, sorry. Okay, so we also had a question that I think is it actually is related both to the strategy that you have shared, but it's also a piece that we cover inside of the program. The question was around the visibility strategy, the visibility week, where our client got 77 signups in the first day when she shared after her visibility week. So the question was, can you share an example of a visibility strategy that then afterwards led to 77 sign-ups?
Yeah, so what we focus on in the visibility week is to increase engagement and increase the eyes of our content. That means that we spend usually 1 hour per day doing specific tasks, like go out and connect with our dream clients on their platform, go to our platform. If you're on Facebook, you might go in 5 minutes in a Facebook group. So it's a kind of a strategic 1 hour that we do things that increase the visibility of our content. And then we post content that we don't ask for anything. We engage with our audience. So the whole idea is to do less, but more specific things to get more eyes on the content that I post. So then you have a lot of engagement, a lot of eyes on your content. So when you go out the week after and do an invitation, a lead generation post, a lot of people are going to see that compared to what they have done, what they would have done if you wouldn't have been on social media at all, right? So the whole idea is to do strategic things we usually do 1 hour per day to boost that visibility before we go into lead generation. It's a strategy that we built out in 2020 when everyone went online, and it became very noisy and it was very hard to get eyes on our content. That is when we built out the visibility boost that we still use.
So a question from Sarah, our lovely Sarah, who is also like me, is a little bit tired of the multi-day launches. And she asked, would this work for those with one-to-one done for you private coaching offers? Or do you have to have a group offer or mastermind as the invitation, sales invitation?
No, this works for any offer. You can sell a low ticket course. You can invite people to book a call. So let's say you run one-to-one high ticket programs. You run a webinar, invite them to book a consultation. That is what you do. You then don't have like a coaching program with a click and buy. So you might invite them to book a call or book a consultation. So they works for everything. And I have run webinars to just generate leads. I have done webinars to sell tickets to my paid event. I have run webinars to fill my summits. I have run webinars for almost everything, and they works for everything. That is the beauty with them, because longer event, let's say 5-day challenges, it's a lot of time that you invest. And we talked about the biggest return of investment today is time. So if you spend 5 days in a row, selling tickets that is $37, it's not the best investment of your time, right? So that is why webinars is so great, because you can sell anything with them. Anything from click and buy a little course or just generate leads into taking people into a consultation and then close them on the call. And there's a lot of webinars out there that is, they call it call to webinars, that is built to take people on a call. Instead of presenting an offer, you present them invite them to book that consultation, and then you close them, you do the sales process on the call.
Yeah, I have another question here. Hang on a second, I just need to find it. So I feel resistance, almost a bit of fear when it comes to mentioning the price of my course coaching. How do I overcome this?
So this is all about believing in the transformation that you bring. And there's a lot of people saying that charge your worth or whatever it is that you say. But I say it doesn't matter what you charge. You can charge anything as long as you feel this is the right. Because you can feel resistant if you take too little, like you sell yourself short, and you can feel resistant if you feel like you charge too high. Charge whatever feels good for you. We have had clients that we said, well, this is a beta launch, you can charge 497. No, I'm going to charge 997. That feels best for me, right? So that is only something that is inside here, that you need to feel that when you say your offer, when you say the investment, you hold that energy and you know with conviction that this is worth the investment, right? And usually we charge too little. So we usually don't need to feel that, oh my God, I charge too much, because that is very, very rarely the case, right? But it's not so much, it's about how you feel when you say it. And this is only repetition. You cannot become good at something if you do not do it. If you never go out and invite people to buy your offer, mentioning the price, like I said to you, joining the webinar revolution, it's $995, right? If I don't go out and say that, I will never be good at saying that. So it's only feeling good and do it over and over and over again, because confidence becomes from building confidence, right? Competence. And to become competent at something, we need to do it. It's not harder than that, actually. But it's okay to feel awkward in the beginning. We all do. We all do. So it's not just you. It can be something else you feel awkward about, right?
We have a great question here from Charlotta, and the question is, to do the webinars masterclass, do we need to have everything set before, like social media, website, etc.? I understand they need to find us somewhere, but how important is it?
So if we look at joining the program, Webinar Revolution, you don't need to have all this set up, because we don't build a website. I don't have a website. I've never had a website. I have funnels. So I have a registration funnel that you all came in on. It was a registration page and a thank you page. And in March, we are going to teach you exactly how to build it as well. So there will be no confusion. You don't have to have anything. You don't have to have a huge audience. You want to know what platform you're going to be on, right? Are you going to be on Facebook, or are you going to be on LinkedIn? Are you going to be on Instagram? You want to know, I'm going to start here because I feel most comfortable on this platform. But you don't need to have a huge audience. I have done webinars with only 2, 3, 4 people, right? I started with 0. I didn't have nobody have an audience when they started. I had 0. When I started doing my webinars, I think my first webinar I think it was 17 signups. So that was it, because I didn't have an online presence. That takes a little bit of time. So you can run high converting webinars with very little people. That is the beauty with them.
Yeah, I have a friend who made £70,000 in her latest webinar, and she had 1,200 people on Instagram. So you absolutely don't need to have a big audience to make money or attract new clients. I think that was actually the last question, but let me quickly double check so that I didn't. Oh, no, I missed one. How do I niche down my audience for my webinar masterclass? Sorry, almost missed that one.
Yeah, so niching down is something that a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck. So they try to niche down and they are stuck instead. So what is important here is that niching down is not something that you can do in a vacuum. So what you want to be clear about is that who you are for, what problem am I going to solve, and who is the person that I want to work with. That can be in the beginning a little broader. Because every time you run your webinar, that webinar is going to build your dream client for you. So after every webinar, you are going to know with more conviction who it actually is that you want to work with, and start nailing down that message. But you can't, it's totally impossible to nail that message in a vacuum. You need to go out and start having communication with your audience, actually speak to people, ask them questions, listening, right? And that is what we do with our webinar, because it's a two-way communication. Like you can ask any kind of questions now, right? We bring those questions, and then I can create content around that, and I can create videos on those topics, and I can take that into my next training to nail down that messaging even more, right? So and inside Webinar Revolution, we have an entire clarification module where you go through to clarify your profitable niche. So we are in a profitable niche where we can make money. And the second thing is clarify your messaging, who you are for, who it is that you are going to help, your dream client, and clarifying also your offer. Because there needs to be a match between who is entering here and who your offer is for. So we don't take in truck drivers and sell fitness for females, right? It's going to be a totally mismatch. They need to be a match here. And inside Webinar Revolution, we go through that. That is the first thing that everyone goes through. I started by saying that the first step is to have clarity. And we do that inside of Webinar Revolution, the entire clarification process. But it's also important to go out there with whatever you decide. You just need to execute, because you can't validate anything without execution. So that is why you need clarity and speed also to go out and actually do it. But there are entrepreneurs, I can just say that there are entrepreneurs that are stuck and never ever come above niching down. I have been in my first business program was 6 months. And after the 6 months, there were still people in module 1 trying to niche down. And the ones that win are not the ones that are stuck in niching down. The ones that win are the ones that execute on an imperfect niche instead of trying to execute and wait for the perfect, whatever that might be. And it's going to change, because you're going to see it's going to change who you work with. You will change, you will elevate, your audience will elevate, right? So it will change. So that is just kind of a little bit of add-on.
Good. Those were the last questions.
Perfect. So then I'm going to wrap this up. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to give everyone 10 minutes after this, since we did a little over time here, to grab that debrief session, to go click join us. And the debrief session, you get that on, all the bonuses are for the payment plan as well. So all the bonuses are for the payment plan. So go grab that. And then I will see you throughout. Yes, thank you, Charlotte. And I will see you in my social media and in the emails, and I'm going to send out the replay as well. And luckily, we actually recorded it. So that was a good thing, right? Because I forgot that. So it's good that Josephine started the recording. So thank you so much. Go and grab that debrief session, and then I will see you inside of Revolution. Thank you so much for being here with me today, and I can't wait to see your webinar. So take care, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you.